I'm Scotty J. You are watching Rock Titan Music Television, and I got a special treat for all you metalheads out there. You know, this is a metalhead kind of day. We are going across the pond, Australia, with a guy that I've been looking forward to talking to for quite a while because we featured one of his bandmates a couple of times. All right? He's a phenomenal guitarist. Absolutely rocks out. He's got a couple of different bands we're going to be talking about, one of which is Night Legion, and the other, which I'm really looking forward to hearing some new material, Death Dealer. We have got Stu the Hammer Marshall with us. Stu.
Scott, how you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
Hey, fantastic. Saturday morning here, and actually about to hit the record button on some solos a little bit later in the morning, but doing great, man, doing great.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Yeah, because it's, it's later in the evening on Thursday where I am, and of course it's or Friday rather. It's Friday evening, Saturday morning for you. It's the weekend. I'm invading your weekend, man. I'm an awful person.
It's fine, mate, not a problem.
Man, we were just talking about your coffee a little bit ago. You know, it's funny over here. It's like instant coffee is just it's atrocious. There is no such thing as good instant coffee over here. But that's exactly what you're drinking. It's like what, the nectar of the gods over there, or what?
Mate, there's a really, really good blend they have here called Matona. It's, like I said to you off camera, it's really thick granules. It's got a beautiful flavor. It's not bitter. And that's kind of what we drink here. And I've had a few of my American brothers stay with me, at the studio. And they've sampled some of this. And at first they go, no, it's got to be, anything but instant. And then I sell them on it. So it works.
Now, it sounds to me that Death Dealer should have their own coffee. Like, they should sponsor you, and you should have your own brand. What do you think of that?
I love that idea, man. In fact, we were talking about doing a Death Dealer red wine, like, seriously, and Sean was looking into doing that and getting special artwork made up by Dusan Markovic for it, which would have been killer. So who knows what the future holds, mate. Maybe we'll do a limited red wine or a coffee would be great,
Right,
I guess Zach Wilde's kind of got the coffee market cornered, man, the Valhalla Java and all that stuff, so.
Yeah, well, I know David Elfson, he's got his own coffee out there, too. So, Megadeth and all that good stuff. But you've got a lot of exciting things going on, I mean, I know that a mutual friend of ours recently picked up the Night Legion album, I guess that you released more toward the tail end of 2017, but you're playing with all your Australian brothers over there, primarily with that band. And then, of course, you've got Death Dealer, which all of our Rock Titan audience knows because we've spoken with Sean Peck, the Hell Destroyer, a number of times. But that is the one project that you guys have together that we've never really had the chance to explore. And what's exciting is you've got new material that you're working on, yeah?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, we've got 13 songs demoed, ready to go to start actually, so the pre-production's almost complete. Your viewers will also know that album and project involves Ross the Boss. From
Manowar, yeah. Wow.
My long thrill is to work with Ross. And so we've been doing this now for, I think, almost 6 years. We were very fortunate with touring. We toured right through Europe. We played Moscow. We did some West Coast shows. And so we're up to album number 3. There's 13 tracks, ready to actually record all the final tracks for. And I'll be producing that alongside Sean. Man, it's a great combination. If people like the first and second album, which were kind of diverse, they're really going to enjoy this third one because it's face-punching, full speed, but it's, still got the melody, still got the hooks, and that's what we're going for is, there's funny things too, I want to say, we're not reinventing the wheel. I think metal's metal, but it's being played by, standing next to Ross is, finest heavy metal guitar player, in my view of all time. So you're going to be hearing fresh power from Ross, and that's good for him because he's got his really successful Ross the Boss band. It also gives him an opportunity to do different flavors and different things. So, man, we're pumped. We're totally excited for it. It's going to be killer.
Yeah, I can't wait. I cannot wait. And I'm glad you touched on Russ because I'm curious how you guys gel together, because you're a lead guitarist yourself, and I know that with a lot of bands, the rhythm guitarist is the rhythm guitarist. They fit into their slot. That's what they like to do. They're cool with that. But obviously, in this case, we've got you and Ross, both of you guys, phenomenal lead guitarists. So how does that work? How do you guys balance that with Death Dealer?
Well, the very first thing for me is pure respect. Ross, I was listening to Ross when I was a kid, and I wanted to work with Ross so much that I begged Sean to pick up the phone originally to call him to ask him, because they were buddies. And so it begins with respect. Ross has his own thing. There's no guitar player on the planet that plays like Ross. I'm kind of a blend of all these different guys from the 80s, the shred stuff. And so, Gary Moore, Steve Lukather through to Malmsteeny kind of stuff. So it works really, really well because Ross doesn't sound like anyone else. So when you listen to a Death Dealer song, and I encourage your listeners after this to go check that out, you'll hear the differences, man. You can hear me so clearly, and you can hear Ross so clearly. And so the differentiation in players is easy because we're so unique in our own thing. And Ross is a one-off. I've spent years trying to develop my own thing, and people need to listen to what I'm doing to actually know it's me, because I'm not that well known compared to Ross, clearly. So, man, it's a beautiful thing, and Ross has been super complimentary to me that I've helped him maybe not so much raise the bar, but make him think a little bit differently as a player. And then playing next to Ross the Boss on stage, man, I'm not afraid to say there's been some teary moments where I'm looking over my left shoulder and Ross is over the stage. I'm like, Jesus, this is like,
wow.
Come on. So I'm always trying to be a better player. Not so much, faster and all that, but yeah. So it's an easy job, and it's the greatest thing. And I think it's why Death Dealer has such an important core in the band with Ross being involved.
Right on, man. Right on. So everybody, again, we are here with Stu the Hammer Marshall from Death Dealer and Night Legion. And Stu, I think that's so cool, that you are, getting that opportunity to play with a musician that, you really kind of grew up idolizing and, maybe even modeling some of your guitar playing after. Since you've actually been playing with him, have you picked up anything from him? Has anything about his guitar playing rubbed off on you at all?
Oh, yeah. There's a thing that Ross does, he calls it naming the chord. So whenever he plays a lead, he'll usually start off on what we call the root note of the chord, but it's really super familiar to the human ear, and it actually leads you as a listener in, and that's why a lot of his solos are so incredibly instantly absorbed, because he's always thinking about making it musical. So for many, many years, I was doing the sweep picking thing and the shredding thing and note density, and Ross has taught me to make that one note work. And on a lot of the bigger tours we did, like we played through Moscow, we did Europe, and then we went into Russia. We played St. Petersburg and we played Moscow, but we played to really big crowds because we were on part of a bigger bill. Like we did 8,000 people in Moscow. There's a solo section for me where I get up, put my foot on the front monitor, and I have to do my thing in front of all these people on my own. And out of the experience of working with Ross, I learned to use the single note, the big bends, and make it more melodic, and that seemed to engage people more. So yeah, man, Ross has always been an influence before I knew him, and a bigger influence now I'm working with him.
Awesome. Now, are you going to be rocking any of his signature guitars? Because I know he's got his own, and hopefully there's signature guitars not too far in your distant future. I see quite a plethora of them behind you there. Good God, man.
So Ross has got the Grossman guitar deal. I had a play on that on their Australian tour, and it was beautiful.
Nice.
But what I did do, I can show you your viewers.
Yes.
Back in the day, Ross was synonymous for playing a 61 SG.
Right on, yeah.
if that's looking okay on your screen.
Yeah, no, it looks great. Yeah, and of course that's what the Grossman looks like.
Yeah, it's sort of modeled.
It's got
on
that
it,
same SG body. Yeah.
I tricked this out just like Ross's, and when Night Legion and Ross toured last year in Australia, I used this on the road. So, but
nice.
I was super fortunate. I worked with ESP guitars for 15 years, and they made me a signature Stu Marshall signature model from a Tokyo custom shop in Japan. So. There's photos of that on my website. And stuff
Okay,
like
so
that.
you do have your own signature guitar then. That's cool.
Yeah, but I finished up with ESP a couple of years ago, and I'm actually enjoying being a free agent so I can play all this stuff without upsetting. Because when you're endorsed, you got to do the right thing by them, right?
So speaking of guitars, being a guitarist like yourself, you can't be playing without a guitar pick. And of course, we just lost the legendary maker of Dunlop guitar picks, Jim Dunlop. What did how did that affect you? What was the impact when you first heard about that?
Well, very, very sad. I think it's easy to forget. When people are talking about Gibson and Fender and Marshall amps, and it's easy to look at those products, but you got to remember that Dunlop picks were used on almost every Megadeth album for the first 7 Megadeth albums. Dave Mustaine was saying he's using Dunlop stuff, and picks affect the way guitar players play. So I guess for your viewers that may not play, these products, these guitar picks and straps, and these are the things we rely on live to work. And Dunlop is an iconic company that makes the very, very best, and it's very sad that he's left the planet. And but made great products, so yeah, quite sad. But I think we just keep using the stuff, and if you've got people out there that want to learn how to play guitar or whatever, if you're finding it difficult, sometimes change your pick. You just never know. It could be the big difference.
Well, may their quality endure. But
that's it.
Yeah, man, right on. So getting back to Death Dealer, and I want to touch a little bit on Night Legion too. Obviously, the focus is on Death Dealer. You're wrapping that album up. You're trying to get everything done there. Does that mean that what you've been doing with Night Legion is kind of completely shelved right now? Or are you also working on material for another Night Legion album?
Well, that's my problem. I say yes to too many things. And so, like Night Legion's playing live in Sydney next week. We've got a show with some great bands, great Australian bands, like a kind of little mini fest we've got. We've had an addition of a new guitar player, so now it's a twin guitar attack, and that guy is also an actual lead vocalist. So we've got this incredible thing happening in Night Legion with the vocals. Album number 2 is being written right now, so I'm kind of juggling both production. Like the writing for Death Deal is complete, so that's cool. Now my head's free to do the Night Legion stuff, and they're very different bands. They've got different kind of things happening, so it makes the musical side of it easily differentiated between the two.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Stu. I'm glad you brought that up, and that's actually, I don't mean to stop you there, but I think that's a really good point, because you got Bo Simpson, obviously, lead vocals for Night Legion, and then you've got, the Hell Destroyer, Peck, with Death Dealer. And they've got they've got similarities with their voices. When it comes to the writing process, when you're doing your work for Death Dealer and you're doing your work for Night Legion, how do you separate that as a song or as a songwriter yourself? Like, how do you say, all right, you know what? I know this is something that I think fits better for Sean, better for Death Dealer. This is something I think is going to be better for Simpson over in Night Legion. How does that process work for you?
Well, the first cool thing is that while they do have similarities in their ability to scream and sing high and powerful and melodic, they also have very different tonal characteristics. So we're dealing with Sean's. Goddamn, Sean is an incredible machine. He sounds kind of like he's got the aggression and ruggedness of Dio, but he's got the highs of Halford. And so, but he does that thing really, really well. And he can also do other stuff, but you rarely hear his cleans. You really hear the power and the gruffness. So Sean has that thing happening, and then Vo is kind of a blend of Jeff Tate and Bruce Dickinson, but really clean, really powerful, really melodic. So from a writing sense, I must admit, the singers don't really dictate what I give them. It's the bands. So Death Dealer, for those that know, is a very thrash-orientated, power metal, just pummeling machine of death, and it's the kind of band that could hang with the most brutal thrash bands or even black metal. We could hang with that stuff live. Night Legion's real kind of early Halloween. It's old school Maiden, Priest.
Okay.
And so it's a bit more mid-tempo. It's not as fast, but it's got a lot of the elements of kind of, I guess you would say, almost the early Queensryche. So we're trying to do everything that we loved from sort of 81 to 85, that kind of thing. And so musically, it makes it easy for me that when it's, if I'm writing something that's brutal and thrashy, that goes into the Death Dealer pile. If I'm writing something that's kind of melodic and clean and big guitar harmony stuff, that then goes into Night Legion. And then sometimes I'll present stuff to Sean that I've written for Night Legion. He's like, dude, we got to keep that.
Right.
Here's the cool thing too. The final thing I'll say, man, about this stuff is that I write a lot of stuff, and I've got a folder probably with 50 or 60 songs, and then Sean's got equally the amount of stuff, and then Ross brings his stuff in. So it's a great position to be in. We've got that much material. We can choose the cream of the crop.
Nice. And I would imagine it's got to be so challenging for you guys because, like you were saying, I mean, Ross, the boss, he's got his own projects that he's got going on. You've got Night Legion and Death Dealer. And then, Sean, he's got, the Three Tremors that's going to be doing their thing here. They're going on tour, and they got their new album that just came out, and he's got Cage as well. So it's like, for all of you artists to be juggling all these different projects, of course, I know you'd probably love to be touring all the time. I know you guys live to tour, being out there in front of your fans, in front of these huge audiences, horns up, they love you, and you thrive off that adrenaline and that attention, I know. So how frustrating, I guess, is it, to have to try to juggle all those schedules? Is it frustrating, or you just kind of deal with it as it comes?
Look, it's certainly frustrating, and it's actually the reason that Night Legion was born, because we had these 13 songs written for the Death Dealer album. Well, actually, we had almost 40.
Wow.
About 2 years ago. And then Ross got incredibly busy with the Ross the Boss thing, and that just exploded. Sean had Dennis Sherman, that exploded. And we ended up having Death Dealer had a year off. And so I had nothing happening at the time, and I went, well, I got all these great songs that I wrote that never made it through the Death Dealer stuff. I also had some material that I released 4 solo albums called Empires of Eden some time back that had celebrity singers. I had like Udo on it, Ralph Sheepers, and so there was a massive catalogue of material there that not a lot of people got to see outside of Japan. Okay. So that's why Night Legion happened, because I went, look, I'm here in Australia, I want a tour. Why not form a band of my best friends that are from other successful bands in Australia? And we formed this kind of collective of people. And so that's how Night Legion came about, because we had the year off. Right. So, yeah, but it's tough, but who would not want their friends to be successful? And
Sure.
I love seeing Ross. Ross is like playing Varkin and doing all these killer things. Sean's blowing up with Three Tremors. And I got to tell you, it's also nice as a fan of these guys. Like, that's how I'm working with Sean. I was a fan of him. I can hear the Ross the Boss album and just go, man, that's slaughtering. The Three Tremors album is just brutal. And as we talk also, we go, well, man, it's got to be better than the Three Tremors album. You know what I mean? It's got to be better than the Ross the Bossa. It's got to be. So all of it's kind of weird, right? It's just the bar all the time.
So when's it coming out? When's it coming out, Stu? When is Death Dealer's new album coming out? When's this going to be done? Are we talking 2019?
Definitely 2019.
All right.
I'm looking at a calendar right now. We're in February. I'm expecting the album to be mixed and mastered by the end of April.
Wow. All right.
We'll look at a release schedule. Our plan is to be touring Europe later half of this year. So yeah, man, it's coming out, and I cannot wait to play. I know every artist says this stuff, man, but let's face it, there's a lot of pressure on us, man. The third album is the make it or break it album.
Yes, it is. That's a big one, man. The third one is a big one. Now, do we have a name for it?
We have not got a title, but what we have is the song titles are really cool. Like I can tell you, we've got some working titles. There's a track called "Beauty in the Blood," which is a great kind of King Diamond-y kind of story. It's one of those big epic horror stories. So we've got stuff like that. We've got a song called "Hail to the King," which is real true metal. So there's going to be lots of cool titles that may lead to an album title, but we're right at the tail end. It's going to get done.
Right. "Beauty and Blood" sounds like a good album title to me, man. That sounds pretty cool.
And I think it's some of Sean's finest lyrical work. Let's not forget, Sean's a great lyricist. And I ask you watchers and viewers, go back through the Cage material, check out the last two Death Dealer albums, look up the lyrics, because this guy, man, he writes friggin' stories. It's incredible.
Well, you guys are so theatric, too, like looking over your music videos, because, of course, we're Rock Titan TV here. So, I mean, the music videos that you guys have produced are pretty killer. There's definitely a lot of CGI, a lot of special effects and whatnot that you incorporate into it. Have you already started laying the groundwork for any music videos to coincide with the songs in the new Death Dealer album? Have you already begun that process?
We have not yet.
Okay.
And there is some conversation around whether we might film a European tour and use that stuff as live.
Okay.
I think music videos I'd like your opinion on this. I feel like music videos are going in a bit of a change of direction where I'm feeling a lot of bands doing more live stuff so people can actually see what the hell this band looks like live, as opposed to a $30,000 cartoon video, and we've done both. But I think the live stuff we did, like there's a video, if your viewers want to check it out, for Hammer Down, that's live in front of, I think, 8,000 people in Moscow, and that appears to have the best reception. We filmed one in the forests of Sweden, which was for the song "Break the Silence," which is a great song and a great clip. But I don't know, maybe the live stuff gets through. I'd like your opinion on that.
Yeah, no, well, we'll have to take that off the record. But I actually do like both. I mean, it depends on the song. Sometimes I think a song can lend itself really well to a short story, like a short film, if you will. With all the special effects, the theatrics, telling a story. Whereas there are some songs which just lend themselves so perfectly to the actual live performance environment, like maybe taking bits of clips from a European tour, like what you're talking about, and making that the actual official music video. It just depends on the song, really. I think maybe more ballady type songs obviously lend themselves more to the Hollywood, story type of effects versus something more, upbeat, fast tempo, and just a lot more of that adrenaline, rush, in terms of that type of a song. That's where I would think, maybe some of that live action would kick into play. But yeah, no, I can't wait to hear some of this new material, maybe a little earlier than most, and, put some deeper thought into that. That would be pretty cool. Again, everybody, we are here with a man who rocks the guitar just about as well as Ross the Boss, Stu, the Hammer Marshall. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
If you like, man, I can quickly play you out. I can play you out.
Hey, man, let's do it. Yes, let's do it. I love it.
All right, so for your viewers, I got this beautiful 1957 reissue Les Paul Custom. And I'm using it on some sessions. I'm running it through a Kemper. I don't know if you can hear this. Let's see if the audio works for you. Let me see.
All right.
Is that working?
Yeah, it sounds great, man. Rock out. Let's do it. Yeah, man. Stu, you rock, dude. That was awesome.
Excellent.
Yeah, it sounded great. I had to move the screen there because I had your guitar cut off there in the beginning. I'm like, oh man, no one can see you shredding. So I brought up the screen so everyone could see it. And yeah, that's what I get for doing the interviewing and the production of the show all by myself. But, we do what we can. But that Night Legion shirt, people can go out and buy that merch on your website, yeah?
Yeah, I think by the time this airs, we're keeping this purely at the moment for our live Sydney show. There's a limited pressing of these, and we have the full colour design as well that we're going to be getting up soon. But drop by Night Legion. I think we've got nightlegion.net. We've got an online store there. All our CDs are hand signed, and we can go from there. So yeah, check us out, guys. And if you want some merch, hit me up.
All right, very cool. Well, Stu, thanks again. I'm Scotty J with Rock Titan TV. We're out.
Thanks, Scott.